Hello, my name is Arjun Vishwanathan, and I'm going to be your host today at our event Redefining CX through Modern Messaging Solutions. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to all our distinguished guests, to all our distinguished participants, as well as all our distinguished and very eminent speakers. Because our conversations today are going to revolve around how meeting new consumer demands, needs, and expectations is critical in a post COVID 19 business scenario. As operating models change increasingly, leading customer experience transformation has proven quite challenging, even more so for organizations that have not invested judiciously in tools and solutions that can help them measure success and failure in that all important area of marketing around driving and delivering authentic, immersive, and contextual messaging. So stay tuned with us, and I will join you in just a short moment with our eminent speakers for today, who are going to be Pradeep Dukare from HDFC Bank, Mr. Subramaniam Gopalaratnam from Resultix, and Shankaraya from Infobip. Hello and welcome. My name is Arjun Vishwanathan. I'm the Chief Research Officer at Strategy Inc., and I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to you in our event titled Redefining CX through Modern Messaging Solutions, sponsored by Resultix. Our theme today is one that promises to be fascinating because meeting new consumer demands and expectations is critical to post-COVID business success. Increasingly, leading consumer and experience transformation has proven quite challenging for most organizations, even more so for organizations that have not invested judiciously in tools, solutions, and platforms that can help them measure success or failure. The need of the hour clearly is for solutions that are intelligently crafted with artificial intelligence and deep learning measurements and software layers embedded within them to help organizations not just truly redefine and transform consumer experience, but also to measure the efficacy of business and marketing success. And to talk to me about all of this, please put your hands together to welcome, and in no specific order, Mr. Pradeep Dukare, who is the DVP HDFC Bank and Head Campaign Evolution and Data Solutions. Pradeep, welcome. Delighted to have you with us.
Thank you, Arjun. Glad to be here.
Pleasure. Subramaniam Gopalaratnam, the CEO and CTO for Resultix. Mani, welcome. We are delighted and fascinated to have you with us.
Thank you very much for being on this. And I
Thank you.
really want to have a good session today.
Thank you. And last but certainly not the least, Shankar Iyer, who's the head for customer success for India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Nepal for Infobip. Shankar, welcome. We know you're joining us from lands and seas far away, but welcome. We're truly privileged to have you with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Arjun.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, we've got what promises to be a fascinating 45 minutes ahead of us, and I'm directly going to jump into this. In my preamble, I specifically spoke about the whole concepts of how customer experience transformation using new age tools that are vectored on messaging solutions are promising to transform the way organizations measure marketing success. And from that perspective, Pradeep, I'm going to come to you first to get your opening views and your perspectives on how consumer behavior in an evolving connected economy is obviously very radically shifting. And in your view, how are brands and how should brands transform equally to craft new and new measures and, of course, approaches for engagement? Pradeep Dukare.
As part of digital marketing fraternity, we believe we are in best time to leverage both traditional communication channels like email, SMS, CRM, and new age digital channels like push notifications, social, and paid media marketing. These communication mediums are backed by data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and new age martech tools. Today's marketeer need to use them to build the consumer consideration for his product and thereby eventually engage the customers in a better way. At HDFC Bank, we are doing all of this in the best possible manner, and I am seeing we are growing our digital business month on month with all these tools and techniques. There are three core elements through which we drive the consumer engagement. I will say the most important of that is analytics, which gives us the propensity or the next best action for each customer, the customer segments which we overlay on the analytics data, and finally the martech tools help us get the last mile delivery to the consumers. With all of this in place, we are seeing our reach to our targeted audiences of more than 65% every month and engagement of more than 50% on them. That's my.
That's actually quite interesting and fascinating because Mani, I'm going to bring that to you. Pradeep spoke about the following key points. He spoke about reach. He spoke about the whole concepts of inclusion. He spoke about engagement. He spoke about experience. Spoke about the tools. Clearly, we are seeing the convergence of technology, tools, and of course, consumers from the other vector, kind of piecing together to form the digital core of how brands today even engage and communicate with customers. From your where you sit and given the wide spectrum of visibility that you have, Mani, across industries and sectors, how are you seeing the evolution of customer experience using traditional and the convergence of emerging tech, radically helping brands redefine their communication approaches? Mani.
I think Pradeep had articulated it very well, right? It's a fusion between the various channels, technologies, and how people engage today. The key part that one needs to be clear is how an organization is able to measure an outside-in thinking process is very, very important. It is not the question of just legacy tools or channels. It is about how customers are responding to you and making sure that you are giving the right experience to them, be it a bank branch or a retail shop, or it's going to be a legacy channel like an email or SMS, or a modern channel like a app or a web. All of this doesn't matter if you can't provide the right experience to the customer, and making sure that, more than that, communicate the right dose to that customer and understanding the propensities. Again, Pradeep mentioned propensity. It's a very key word, right? Not everyone will be active in every channel. So you don't have to spam me just because I'm available on you have my phone number, you have my email address, and I also download your app for my transactions. You can't send me all three. You need to be clear that money is active in a particular channel during a particular time. Then I'm dosing money at the right level. If I don't open my messages or my communication X number of times, then you don't disturb me for a while. You leave me alone in that channel. It is a win-win situation. Otherwise, overdose of communication today is the biggest problem because we are into electronic world. Post COVID-19, it is even worse, right? I'm having 8 different e-com applications where I'm ordering groceries to my electronics to everything. And all of them are targeting me like crazy. So the ability for you to leverage and know exactly what a customer wants and provide the right dose of communication in the right channel will be very key, which has to be done based on the data and the techniques that you had outlined clearly, like the ability to use predictive and artificial intelligence will be very key.
That's actually interesting because Shankar, I'm going to bring you the same question, but with a supplementary to it, which is that while customer journeys are evolving, so too is the ability for brands to communicate with them in differential manner. Just like Mani said, just because I'm available on 6 different channels does not mean the whole concept of how Resultix and Infobip come together to provide the kind of solutions that helps HDFC Bank achieve the kind of fascinating numbers that Pradeep was talking about. What, according to you, should the approach be for most brands or all brands today in helping them communicate better and more effectively, and of course, lead to a higher level of engagement?
Absolutely. I think most of the things which Pradeep and Mani touched upon. Pradeep spoke about the way the technology has enabled them on the reach front of it, and Mani just continued from there, saying when you reach the customer, you don't mean that you keep reaching them in different channels. You need to ensure the propensity part and things like that. From a service provider point of view, when I look at it, what I do is I enable both these logics which Pradeep and Mani spoke about. So there is a availability. There's two. We are spoiled for choices as far as our communication channels are concerned. I would let me put it that way, and we are one of the reasons for it. We have developed different kind of communication channels which the users are using, and we have provisioned them across across brands and technologies and entities. Now, what happens is the most important part is you need to keep the consumer in between. That is where it all starts, and from there, how do you leverage that information, that analysis, the big data, and all that stuff to see that you use these channels in an appropriate manner to communicate at the right time. Because what is happening is there's too much of clutter, if you ask me. I mean, there's a lot of things. The mobile app is exploding. The last 18 months has just created an explosion, and in a lot of things have, as you mentioned, there are 8 apps and all that. But what happens in between that is, you need to start now understanding customers much better, and probably there are technologies which can bring mobile usage behaviors in one single platform, and then you leverage it to the fullest, to ensure you are connected with that customer. What I believe that was your question, to ensure you.
No, that's actually interesting that you mentioned this, because Pradeep, I'm going to come back to you with the whole concept of when brands such as HDFC Bank sit down to plan marketing campaigns, communication campaigns, experience and engagement campaigns. There are multiple variables that you are forced to cater to. So there's consumers, there's a preference of consumers, and you've got internal data, then you've got external data. My question to you, therefore, is how can a radical new age approach help manage diverse variables, despite the fact that you will want to continue driving and delivering immersive, authentic, relevant, and contextual messaging? How do you plan that, and how do you think tech sits right in center of it?
So I'll give you a couple of examples here. One, I'll again go back to my analytics example. So we have a 2-year-old experience analytics team at HDFC Bank, and we have moved a lot ahead of those traditional analytical segmentation. Today, my analytics team tells me that what is the next best product they want to recommend for a customer. The ability earlier was to slice maybe to couple of segments for a particular product. Today, that ability has increased. We can first they recommend which are the customers they recommend for a particular, and they can further give 25 sub segments of that data. So suddenly, our scale in terms of the micro segmentation in analytics has increased. I will say too much. I will say 5 to 10 times of the existing ones. That's one on analytics side. Now on campaigns, there are many elements in the campaign which, because of the new age martech tools, has been really beneficial to us. For example, traditionally we were just sending out email, SMS. Today, the first object is I can do a omni-channel campaign orchestration, which means that I choose which customer will be campaigned to which channel basis his channel affinity. There are these features of martech tools, for example, something like A/B testing, where I just don't send out messages. I test my message before sending out to the customers. We have features like frequency capping. I ensure that if there is I do not spam my customers.
Indeed.
There are the various platforms which tells me that you can schedule a message at a specific time. All these put together, all these elements put together are communication plan, which is insight led, helps us to deliver authentic and immersive communication to the customers.
Interesting. Mani, if I could come to you, sir, is the whole concept that each of you in very supreme fashion has articulated the fact that there's multiple channels available today, and therefore multiple modes of communication that are possible. And therefore equally, the unwanted ability to target a customer multiple times. And yet, what strikes me as a very potent observation is that as consumers, even in this connected digital age, our single source of truth is an SMS, which is what we would tend to rely on, especially when it comes from a brand that I am affiliated with or that I'm connected with. Keeping that in mind, if I were to ask you to roll back, how did the whole concept of SMS-based modern messaging solutions to drive customer engagement, how did it start, and what was the journey, and what did you attempt to address as a challenge or as an opportunity for Indian industry to be able to connect, communicate, and engage more effectively with customers?
Yeah, so the legacy of SMS started from the day where limited bandwidth was available.
Indeed.
So, sending an email, people will have to do, go home and check something. Whereas I can deliver a SMS message right at the point of interest. And that's how the start of evolution happened. And then, OTP solutions leverage them for a lot of two-way, authentication so that, fraud can be prevented.
Indeed.
And that actually led to very interesting levels of details. They are very much used and preferred for trigger-based communications. Trigger-based communication means there is some transaction that is happening. Then I need to communicate to a person immediately. Then I think the first port of call is SMS today. Okay, so though people said 4 years before SMS will die, still, OTP led communication and point of transaction communication still happen through this, and that gives you interesting possibilities.
Indeed.
Suppose I go and go to a Chroma shop and then I buy, let's say, a MacBook Pro, and you're using a co-branded card. So you are actually getting an immediate response from the co-branded organization saying that, hey, thank you for, you've charged so much on it. Here is the offer for you to have an insurance on this. Okay, so that actually gives you an immediate, actionable item. If I send it through an email, yes, it will work. Or if I send it through an app, yes, it might work. But still, it is tied to something where it is action based. So anywhere where there is going to be people who are at a age who are not really looking at apps per se, or who would like to leverage and get an experience of instant gratification, SMS becomes a very important commodity. The second part of it is the offline to online connection. Offline to online connection, you have QR codes being used everywhere else. But then, I've seen one of my customers in US use two-way SMS very effectively. They own malls, they own outlets. So all they have is a QR code which says, click here, then it will automatically send the message, on your phone. It shows you the message template, etc. So you don't have to type it, but it goes through an SMS. And then immediately the other side responds back based on offer coupon or whatever.
So, Mani, my question, therefore, also, and if I may be with your permission, allowed to interject at this point of view, how do you, therefore, from a Resultix point of view, Mani, articulate an enhanced effectiveness or efficacy of your SMS and messaging-based platform to drive enhanced and superior connect, engagement, and experience?
So basically, the superior connect and engagement is based on the product, right? So like, for example, Pradeep's team has a very nice way of making sure that the right offers are being stitched. So, so when the customer gets that message, he or she is able to utilize that. So there is a higher engagement. That's based on the quality, branding, and the product. The second part of it is an ability to send it at the right time, A. B, provide some value adds. From Resultix side, we had introduced a concept of a smart link, which allows you to actually target a customer with a unique link. That means it is not a bit.ly link which is sent for every customer. It's link shortening. Whereas this one actually identifies this particular communication link is sent to Mani, and this is through SMS, and this is for this campaign. All of this compressed into a very short link. This allows me to track back, not just the engagement level, but up to the conversion levels. That means whether the person has actually availed that offer or have done the activity completed. Like, for example, if it is FD renewal, so it will be up to the level of whether that person has actually renewed. So that's
fascinating, because Shankar, I'm going to bring precisely that to you. I started off my question, and each of you, of course, spoke in equal measure about the levels of contextual relevance and, of course, authenticity. Clearly, Mani's articulation and what Pradeep's also mentioned very, very interestingly is the fact that messaging-based solutions are equally authentic in helping brands drive a higher level of efficacy in their marketing campaigns. Now, you're at the center of all the tech. Why don't you walk us through how this approach will vastly and very differentially help organizations drive precisely what they want to do? The first is better engagement and experience. Second is better predictive analysis, because without data, there's no starting point. And last but not the least, marketing and business success?
Sure. Before I jump into that point, let me just tell you, SMS. You raised this point. Last 3 years, and I'll give you some statistics. In last 3 years, there has been a 64% jump in the overall consumption of SMS in India as such. And we're not talking too behind. We're not talking about 10 years before. We're just talking about last 3 years, right? And so it also tells that while the digital ecosystems have evolved, SMS has played a very, very important role, which Money touched upon about the instant gratification. You downloaded an app, you need an SMS to authenticate yourself before you get inside and start your digital journey, right?
Indeed.
So that's where that instant you did a shopping. You're probably a bank has Pradeep has ensured that there's a message landed in your inbox saying you did the transaction. But mind you, the brand where you purchased, probably it's Chrome or any brand, is also sending you an SMS
Indeed, so.
telling you that you came to us for shopping. Now, what is this exactly? People who are not sending this SMS versus people who are sending this SMS. If you look at the customer sentiment here, you start associating with that brand because the brand has acknowledged your effort to shop with us. Now, how will you do that, right? Other than the physical connect, there was only one option left, was SMS. Because the eyeball on SMS was high because there was an OTP which just happened before the transaction and so on and so forth. So that is the reason I think SMS has still remained in the center of the entire communication gamut of marketing activities, and the statistics still show the same, because out of that entire growth of SMS, still 35% of the SMS revolved around promotional activities. So, we're talking about 41 billion plus kind of an SMS traffic a month. And if that is the traffic, 30% is a big number in terms of promotional activities, or a transaction plus promotional, I call it sometimes. Something like you get a loyalty point for your transaction and things like that. So I think this is where the SMS stands today. And now coming to the point why it's becoming a very critical part of the business analytics and things like that, is because of the reach, right? I mean, there is still a large section of the population relies on SMS, regardless of age or regardless of any demographic thing you take it. It's just because of the reach and the infrastructure which is developing and which is trying to reach there. And that is the reason sometimes brands would have a challenge to unify their communication. Let's say you don't want to do SMS with it. It's not possible because you still have a large section of your consumers inside that, inside the gamut of SMS, and they still want an SMS to come to them. So that is why I believe it's important. And then you have technologies which is probably redirecting you from SMS to different platforms. So you can come from a physical mode to an SMS, and from SMS again get redirected to a different platform of digital communication. So I think it's something like a focal point. It's like a hub right now. I see, I don't know how long we stay in that hub, but it is a great hub right now, where you are actually bringing together a lot of channels and a lot of communication strategies at that hub. And from there, you deviate further.
No, that makes absolute sense. Because Pradeep, my next question to you, therefore, which is a very logical offshoot of what both Mani and Shankar spoke about, is you've, of course, clearly articulated the merits of how Resultic and the InfoWip solution has helped you craft better marketing campaigns. My question to you is, as HDFC Bank, as the brand, with the vast volumes of customers that you have with very diverse preferences, as you move along through a journey towards the analytics of the future, what are the variables that you will need to take into consideration for future marketing campaigns to not just be holistic, but to be able to be predictive, precise, and clearly tied to the diverse needs of independent customers? And therefore, my question to you is, how has the Resultic solution helped you even commence that journey?
So I would say again, the couple of things I still want to add on to the SMS channel. Firstly, both Mani and Shankar have clearly articulated that SMS is very channel which has adoption, complete 100% adoption with the consumers.
Very
this
potent channel.
Potent channel, yes. So this definitely helps us in our event-based campaign. The example which Mani gave in terms of sending out communications when the customer has swiped his card at a merchant and thereby giving him another relevant offer, or in our remarketing journeys where, let's say, you are doing some transaction online. FD booking can be an example. You did not complete that transaction for whatever reason, we follow through with the customer to complete his journey. All of these techniques, all of these use cases, when we talk about, there has to be a martech tool at the back end which enables all of this. We have implemented ResultX for 4 years before, and all this while, I would say, from both, there are two aspects to this. One is the time to market. So in the traditional martech tool, which against ResultX as a tool, definitely our journey of campaign execution has reduced drastically.
If you
There are
could, with your permission, may I ask you to expand on that a little, because our wonderful audience that's tuning in today would love to hear, the practical and real life enterprise application of such innovative tools.
I'll give you an example. The
That'll
best
be
thing
nice.
I see with ResultX is there is a 360-degree customer information hub created. So this 360-degree information hub has customer's account detail, his transaction detail, his profile details, our analytics input, the digital footprints of the customer. All this data is there on the platform. So if I want to create now, if there is a campaign use case and there is a campaign has to be done, all this customer segmentation is, I will say, less than 30-minute job on the platform. And moment this segmentation is created, we attach creatives, insight-led creatives to this combination, and the campaign execution, I mean, is a really easy job now. That's one. Besides that, ResultX, I see there are various other martech tools at HDFC Bank. ResultX has easy connectivity with the other tools. Example are push notifications or the digital tools. All this seamless connectivity between different channels makes our life for omni-channel campaign orchestration really easy. So these are like few of the excellent things which have happened in our processes with ResultX implementation.
That's quite fascinating, and that's fantastic, really. Mani, this must come as music to your ears. Uh, but my question to you is, I do understand that in your overall solution, there is also a layer of artificial intelligence and machine learning embedded at its very core. Uh, what was the thought process when you decided to embed that, and how do you see that radically redefining and making a distinction from amongst other MarTech tools that are available, that are either off the shelf or bespoke?
I think, to be modest, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. That's all I can say.
So very,
So
very
the whole concept is not just evolved from ourselves. We were practitioners of various tools for over a decade. We were, before we built ResultX, we were a digital agency from 2004. So that, allowed us to, have some big names across multiple countries, made us work with different tools. And we understood what the strengths are, what the weaknesses are. The weakness was in terms of data, right? Every channel had its own tool and the data was fragmented. So this became a very big problem for us to justify our existence, right? As a marketing agency, you're supposed to go and tell the brands that, hey, because of me, you won so much, and so much of revenue is attributed to us. We can't say that. And the identity of a person is in multiple systems. And
indeed.
that's what we wanted to reduce first. So we wanted to create a data layer. When we started ResultX, there was no concept of a CDP. We used to call ourselves a CAH. Even today, HDFC refers to our CDP as CAH, Customer Information Hub. 2016 was when the word was officially formed by analysts, and then the institute was formed. So, the learning was, how do you actually leverage this data to do two things only? One is whether the customers are liking the communication and the frequencies, A. B, are they responsive to something or not responsive to something? And that is true picture of how your customers are behaving. And that helps you in terms of what Pradeep said about A/B testing is a technique that is available in paper for long years. But how do you bring it to scale? That's one. Second one is the ability for you to do control and target audience. Then how do you actually get the system to learn, okay, I've got X million customers in my database. They do not have uniform amount of data about them, right? A lot of them may not, a lot of them may be new acquisitions. How do you actually target them? Because you don't have the habits of them. Can we actually see lookalikes from there? And so on and so forth. So it's all about getting this data, creating a kind of a mine where you're able to fit certain practices to certain hypotheses, prove the hypothesis. And if the hypothesis is correct, then that becomes a fact. If it is not correct, then you're relearning something. So artificial intelligence is a big word, but ability to use these techniques to predict and prescribe, that's a first attempt. Second one is fit. That's where the artificial intelligence become more important, where I don't have this data, but I have some patterns. How do you actually match this pattern? This is where it's continuously evolving. We have learned some very, very good things, like thanks to customers like HDFC, they've given us quite a bit of freedom in terms of, they went and invested in a big multi GPU based system for us to do an indexing on-prem, which is actually, it cost a lot of money and a lot of maintenance, but they still did it because they also use it as part of their analytical team, and part of us use that. So it makes it a kind of a fertile innovation that is continuous. This AI models and the predictive analytics is not going to stop today. Every following months and quarters, you will actually get more and more models based on data maturity.
That's actually very interesting. But gentlemen, I do have a view on the clock, and we've got about 15 minutes. And that brings me to a very important aspect of this current narrative that we are having. And Shankar, I'm going to come to you. Both Mani as well as Pradeep, in very emphatic manner and fashion, have spoken about the ability for the solution to be able to provide far better analytics, and of course, with the deep learning, so to say, kind of a methodology that is embedded within it. However, there may also be an argument that says with a digital or a mobile app, brands have their consumers within the geofenced locations or the geofenced areas of the app, and therefore are able to measure the efficacy of a customer journey far, far more, in a more finer way, if I may be allowed to put it that way. However, Pradeep has clearly articulated the fact that this particular solution, which is based on messaging, has been able to help him drive better analytics. How does that manifest?
So I think we are at a cusp of both. I would rather say it is, as I said, the market is so diverse. Still, there is a lot of play in communication channels to build an analytics over it, like who responds, who doesn't respond, who reads, who doesn't read, who clicks, who doesn't click, right? And then when you're done with your who questions, you move on to where, where it happened, and then you want all the W's start playing there, right? And that's where what I think, if I understand correctly, what Mani was saying is that you try to build that metrics and make a common language out of it. This is what it behaves like. Again, it doesn't end there, because it's so dynamic that again 3 months you visit back, that language is no more understood by anyone. It again changes because there are new systems coming in, there are new ways of communications coming in, and so on and so forth. I mean, I can still tell you, I know organizations who used hard code papers for applications have now at the entrance have put a QR code and said, unless you scan and you fill in, you can't walk in. Now you can imagine the customers who went knocking saying that, do you have anything digital? Like, no, I don't want to sit down and borrow a pen somewhere and write. They never bothered about it. Now, what it changed was because COVID came and just simply told them, you can't do this anymore. That's it. So there are, and this is one example. There are many like this where the transformations have happened, which means there was never an eye, for that organization, it was never an eye for the data. Whereas there are organizations who want to start from data and end at data kind of. So I think to answer your question, both the things remain parallel, both the things will run parallel. And for a country like ours, it's not easy that it's overnight going to switch things. It will play a long game. And I think the analytics over communication is very, very important, because the behavior cycle is very different. Uh, if I tell you a classic example, you want to communicate in an age group of 25 to 35, and there, if you keep pushing SMS to them, it's not going to be like, so easy for you. You drop on WhatsApp, then it's going to be a faster response. I'm not saying SMS has gone out. What I'm just trying to tell you is that understand the mindset here. It is just so
Psyche.
changed, right? So yeah, exactly. And that's the psyche which we need to keep changing, and it changes again. Mind you, that 35 plus is again changing. He doesn't want to get bothered, and you don't want to get into your private space again. So you want to be better at SMS again now. And the same consumer has changed now. So there are so many factors to it, I believe. And apparently, what I want to say is that finally, the consumer is a consumer who will buy your experience and not a product. So
Indeed.
and that experience is what matters, and then the W's will start playing again. So this is what my experience is with
No,
the
no, I
customer.
couldn't agree more. Because Pradeep, that is precisely what I want to talk to you about. Since you've been using the Resultix platform, the solution to engage, communicate more effectively, what metrics have changed in your measurement of success? How has that evolved? What kind of transformation have you brought in terms of newer metrics to measure the efficacy and the success of marketing campaigns? That's number one. And also customer preferences. What has changed in that realm?
So I would say the first what Resultix has bought in, I will say they have bought in customer data lake. They have brought in ease of us using the predictive scores which our analytics team gives us, and definitely we are doing a lot more insight led communication this time. So what we are also focusing on is today there was a lot of data being generated. There was internal data, operational data, financial data, feedback data. So all of this putting together and doing a campaign was not an easy task earlier. Now when we have a martech tool, all of this becomes really easy for us. with our with innovations in our analytics department, we have more outputs from our machine learning algorithms. So earlier my analytics team was giving me for a product maybe 3 to 4 segments. Now they are giving me 25 segments.
Wow.
So if for one product earlier I was doing 3 campaigns, now for the same product I have to do 25 campaigns. Because I have this CDP of Resultix, because the data ingestion from multiple sources is easy for me. Today that 3 campaign has become now 25 campaign with not much of efforts. So this is the big, I will say, operational ease and the micro segmentation which we have bought in at HDFC Bank. Besides that, what we have parallelly done is we have moved to something called as agile marketing. So what we do is for every product we have created small groups of people from different business verticals. So there will be somebody from marketing, somebody from business, somebody from operations, and somebody from creative sides. All of this put together make a small group which we call as agile campaign team, and this team is now responsible for driving business to the next level. So earlier, if let's say for my credit card loan on my credit card product, if I was contributing 40% digital to overall business, so now that 40% target has gone to 80%.
Wow.
So that's where now
That's
all of these teams are coming together, and because of these martech tools, because of our increased analytics capabilities, definitely our internal benchmarks has gone up much ahead. Also, what has happened in all this last few years, what has happened, traditionally we were reaching to X number of customers in our portfolio. Now because of this ease of omni channel orchestration, definitely we are creating much more awareness to our consumers, creating consideration for our brand product, and thereby definitely getting more business for the bank.
And as a concluding question, could I ask you whether the definition of success in terms of marketing campaigns at HDFC Bank have changed dramatically?
yes, they have changed. Earlier, what was earlier the question was marketing will only get me views, or marketing will only get me awareness. Today, that awareness has changed to product consideration, and today we are a big revenue contributor to the bank. So our senior management are talking us to as a revenue marketeer. So we
Fantastic.
today, so there is a saying which marketing is a sales channel. So definitely we are leaping towards that, and definitely the digital side of our marketing is growing leaps and bounds month on month.
Fantastic. I mean, that was very, very supremely articulated, and the pleasure to hear, considering I come from a predominantly marketing background. Thank you, Pradeep. Mani, I do have a view on the clock, sir, but I must ask you. We've had a 42-minute conversation. That's been fascinating, bringing in the convergence of marketing theory, campaign management, and technology at the very center of it, all obviously for the consumer. What next? Clearly, the SMS-based solution from Resultix has been a game changer within industry. But as you chug along, as you march towards a more resolute future, what kind of innovation could we expect from the Resultix tables and the labs in the months to come? I'm not going to say the years to come. What could
I
we
think
look forward
the key. Okay, there are two things I want to emphasize. One is whatever that is talked about is not magic. It's not technology is just kicking something. There's a lot of sweat from both the organization which is actually implementing it and the tools that matches them. So the ability for understanding the needs and providing that handshake is very important. A customer like HDFC has provided us with a lots and lots of inputs and patience in terms of bringing something together. That's very important. So nothing is magic. If somebody says tomorrow, just implement this, everything, your revenue will grow. It's not going to happen. At the same time, from Resultix side, what we are looking at is, we are looking at everything at point of presence. It's not channels alone. It is basically the behaviors are going to be based on consumptions. Like, for example, we are now investing a lot of time and effort in terms of IoT. IoT of things like, we work with some of the automobile companies with, electronic automobile production. How do you actually change the customer experience from acquiring them, purchase, and to trial run such things? And how do you actually help them to have the experience after they bought it? How do you make sure that the diagnostics are used to provide proper communication to them for service levels, etc., etc.? This is something which we are working on. We are also working with one of the biggest US majors to create a framework that enables us to, go and provide customer experience in theme parks, in shipping, etc., etc. I think this is
that measure. If I could ask you a very, very important question, and one that I'm personally very, very interested in knowing how you will address that is, what in your engagement approach with your clients seems to have worked the most? Is it the fact that you're partners in progress, your consultative approach? What perhaps has worked the best that industry could look forward to when they engage with you in the weeks and months to come?
I think it is basically the intent from the brand is very important. If they have an idea and they're passionate about it, we are able to work with them very, very closely. As I said, if somebody is just expecting without any effort, you bring a platform, it's going to work, it's not going to work. That's what we have always seen. The most successful ones with us have put in equal effort or more in terms of getting it to be working. A. B, innovation is all about hypothesis. It is not about everything will get a tick mark, right? Some will fail, some will succeed. But ability for you to know why something has failed and ability to use that as a lesson to the next level is very, very key. And all our customers, we are willing to put that, hard work. We will make sure that we are engaged with the customers and we are providing, we are creating certain IPs along with the customers too, which makes it very, very unique. Like with HDFC, they had come with a very unique concept of personalization at a hyper level. That means you're talking about, same, message, but it has got multiple nuances. If it reaches a high net worth individual, it will look and feel differently to somebody else.
Yeah.
All that were very much, conceptualized along with them. So we are doing that with other customers too. I think that's where the evolution of innovation is where we would love to be part of. And I think that's where we are looking for support.
Thank you, sir. Shankar, same question to you, really. The Infobip Resultix partnership is clearly helping brands do so much more than perhaps one would have imagined about a couple of years back. Like you rightly said, not too far back into the past, but a couple of years back. Same question to you. How do you see this journey moving forward and evolving? And what could we look at in terms of innovation from the Infobip labs equally?
I just feel that with Resultix and Infobip, we just play some kind of a head and tail kind of a role. It's like because who, if you want to send a communication to somebody, I think Resultix will tell you why you need to send it, right? And I will probably need Resultix. When I send the communication, again, Resultix will tell you probably what has happened with the communication. So this is the jigsaw puzzle. The piece in between is what we've been, and it's as so Mani also rightly said. We are the partners in progress. We just it's not only about one channel. It's also about omni-channel. It's about reaching on time. It's about when you need to communicate and all that stuff. I think we just keep enabling each other on that front, and a lot of these is only possible through our customers. And now when I say refer this customers here, I'm moving from a B2C to a B2B here now, and just trying to look at the entities who have partnered. They have provided a lot of insights, and I completely agree with Pradeep. Now this is a Moola-driven ideology of communication and digitalization. It is no more a strategy which just sits behind on the board. It has to get measured, and I believe that we have seen that happening. A lot of these approaches now are more pre-sales than post-sales. Trust me. So it's all about what is that you're going to do to up the ante. Then it's not about what we do as an experience sharing. So it's all, a lot of focus is moving towards that area as well. So I think looking forward, I think it's the MarTech and the omni-channel communication. I think it's a long way for us to develop, but I think great times ahead for sure.
Well, that's pretty much from us, folks. I'd like to thank all you distinguished ladies and gentlemen and participants in the audience today. And I hope you enjoyed this session as much as I enjoyed moderating it. A special round of gratitude and thanks to our eminent speakers from industry, Pradeep Dukare, Subramaniam Gopal Ratnam, and Shankar Iyer. Gentlemen, it was nothing short of a privilege sharing experiences and perspectives and views with you. Thank you for lifting the veil from such a very, very important aspect of modern business transformation, which is redefining CX through modern messaging solutions. That's pretty much from our side at Strateging and Resultix. Thank you all for joining us. Please do take a minute to fill out the feedback form. Your feedback is invaluable to us, and each of your perspectives and feedback goes a long way in helping us craft such events that will be of immense help to you. This is Arjun Vishwanathan, the Chief Research Officer at Strateging, signing off. Thank you, stay safe, and Jai Hind.